stumbling a little bit. Okay, now we're recording. So welcome everybody. My name is Christy Post. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications for the Finger Lakes Trail Conference, and we're really excited tonight to talk with you about hike leader training. And we have some excellent experts on this topic that we'll be sharing with you. So this is being recorded and it will be shared on our YouTube station. We'll send out a link afterwards, both via email and on social media. And if you visit the FLT Connect page of our website, which I'm sharing right now in the chat, you can see, first of all the upcoming presentations that we have, and we have a really full schedule, and I'm adding about 3 more tomorrow in April. We've got everything from another map presentation about how to use the FLT's maps and map tools. We've got a panel discussion with 2 gentlemen who recently completed fastest known times on the FLT in 2021. They're going to be talking about their experience. A lot of different, we've got a Heather housekeeper coming back for edibles and medicinal plants on the FLT, which is always very popular. So check that out. Check out the list of all the upcoming events. So a little bit about the FLT. It was founded in 1962. We are celebrating our 60th anniversary this year, so you'll be getting some communications about that as well. We have a number of events that are coming up. We have our county hike series, which is through Tompkins County this year, and that's going to start in April. Information about that is also on our website. We have our fall weekend in September, which is a really fun event. We're really excited about a cool venue this year, but it's a weekend full of hiking and camaraderie with fellow hikers. And that's going to be in Ithaca at the Gray Haven Motel. That's really exciting. We also just launched yesterday our FLT 60 program, and if you're not familiar with it, please check it out. It's a free hiking challenge, hike 60 miles anytime during this year, and you get a certificate, a sticker, and a patch. So check that out. It's just some good motivation to get out on the trail. And we're adding some events soon about some other hiking events we've got this summer. We started doing Hiking 101 again a couple years ago. We are now launching an Explore the FLT series, which hopefully will take us across the state. We're partnering with many different breweries and a new partnership with an actual sober active community organization. So we'll be offering some sober hikes. We're going to need hike leaders for all of those. So after tonight's presentation, please reach out to us and let us know where you're available to lead hikes, what kind of time frame you're looking for, all of those things. We really need your help to have some more group hikes and activities with the Finger Lakes Trail Conference. I want to thank any members and donors who are here tonight. The FLTC is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We are funded almost entirely by membership dues and donations. So your support is terribly important and allows us to offer these kinds of programs as well as to expand our group hiking events. And it supports all of the trail work, all of the trail projects, all of our alley cat projects, everything. So if you are not a member or donor, I encourage you to please become one. So I'm going to turn it over now to Peg Fuller, who's going to move us through the training. But Peg, hand it over to you.
Hello, Christy. Do I have control of the slides, or you have control?
I have control of the slides.
Okay.
I will advance us forward.
Okay, sounds good. And you know, we wanted to put this training on to get everybody on the same page, but it's not just specific to FLT hikes. Anywhere that you're leading a hike, this training should be beneficial to you. And you know, we like to joke around and have a good time and be informal. So Christy said, you know, we're going to be doing some sober hikes, and I want to reiterate that all of our hikes are sober hikes.
Yes, I'm sorry. I meant hikes specifically for where the activity afterwards was to go get a beer.
Right. I know what you meant, but
okay.
You know, we have to have some levity here. So our panelists tonight, Tori has been involved as a camping guide and with the DEC, and has completed wilderness first aid certification, which is a huge achievement, and has been a Girl Scout leader and backpack with the girls for over 20 years, which is also amazing, and comes with a wealth of knowledge just from that. Steve has been a hike leader for many years with the Bullthistles Hiking Club and has been all over the FLT. He thoroughly understands passport programs involved with the FLT, and a lot of the topics tonight, he's right on, spot on with these topics. He's a trail maintainer, and is chainsaw certified through the FLTC, which is a great program. If you want to be a trail maintainer, you could ask us about that later and we'll happily explain it to you. He's worked with youth groups for canoeing and camping, and is a winter camper, which is also another specialty that not all of us have. I am the program chair for the FLTC, and I'm a board member. I'm also a hike leader with the Bullthistles Hiking Club and the FLTC, and I'm the current president of the Bullthistles Hiking Club and a trail maintainer. So I want to welcome everybody. I'll go over the goals for tonight. The agenda. So we're doing this because we feel that it's good to mentor hike leaders, but the way to become a good hike leader is to go out and do it. So we want everybody here to feel comfortable when they leave here to how to set up a hike and lead a hike. So whether you ever do it for the FLT or ever do it for, one of our clubs, that's up to you, but we want you to be comfortable with the topic. And part of that is the before, with the successful planning of your hike. And there's a lot to think about, before the hike, during the hike, the day of the hike, how to be a good hike leader for all that. And we're going to cover it. And then after the hike, everybody wants some feedback on how did the hike go, and maybe some pictures. So we're going to explain what to do with that. And then because this is an FLT event, we do want to, talk on a couple FLT specific topics and items towards the end. So that's our basic agenda for tonight. And what I would like to do now is turn it over to Steve to start the basic presentation. Steve, you're on mute. And I'll cover this while he unmutes. This is, again, this is useful for all hikes, not just the FLTC organized one. I said that. Even if you are a hike leader and you've been doing this for 20 years, this is an excellent refresher to be part of this presentation. And after this presentation, if you're like, wow, I really want to get involved in the FLT Connects and help teach other people about hiking, really, we want you to think about that too while you're listening. If you're a solo hiker, this is also going to help you prepare for your solo hikes. So one of our other objectives is to find hike leaders and leaders in general for our local clubs and our FLT events. So you may be one of these future leaders that'll be, taking the reign from us very soon. So now, Steve, we're going to go into the next slide, and Steve, it's all yours.
Well, I'm unmuted now. Good evening, everybody. So when you're planning a hike, first you have to think of the group you're going to go with, and maybe what type of hike they want to go on, like whether it's easy, moderate, or difficult. And those we went a couple pages too far. Christy? Yeah, thanks. The difficulty is dependent on the group. And so 20 years ago, I would say the difficult one would be easy for me, but maybe not now. So these things can change depending on the group. Anyway, well, let's go to the next one. So some of the things we have to consider are the seasons, whether it's cold or hot or muddy, or if we're going to go snowshoeing. And but there are some things that you want to adjust your time for the equipment or the conditions that you're going to be in. You know, muddy trails and take a little longer to negotiate than a nice flat path or a road even. And on a hot day, I like to go when it's cooler in the morning and go in the canopy in the woods and stay away from the roads where the sun is blazing on the road and you can hardly stand it. Anyway, you know, for snowshoes, you also have to take in consideration how deep the snow is. We went on one last weekend, and I knew because we had a little rain a few days before that there was a hard crust and it would be easier. It would be easy walking, and it was. So some young kids or a dog could probably walk on that hike and there would be no problem. But you have to think about all these things when you go on a hike. And one of the things that I'm worried about, I think, when I first started hiking, I was worried that, you know, someone might get hurt, or you just try to cover all the things that you should do before you go on a hike, and things usually come out good. Okay, Christy. Okay, and the other thing is to choose a destination, and we have to use some kind of map, and the FLT maps are excellent maps because they describe that where the FLT trails are and the parking areas and all the you know, whether it's on private property or whether it's state land. But you can also use a topo, USGS topo map, or an app on your phone, or a GPS, like a Garmin GPS, or load Gaia, Strava, Avenza, or All Trails onto your phone. And they're helpful in that you can create a route and load that onto your app or your GPS, and then be able to follow it while you're on the trail. And if you get the FLT maps, a digital copy, you also get a digital GPX file, which is a track of that trail on that section of the FLT, on those map numbers that you see on that sign. That one's map 23. But you would go to the FLT website and download that map, and if you got the digital one, and it will come with a PDF, and it will come with a GPX file that you could put onto your computer or into your GPS, whether it's a dedicated GPS or on your phone. Anyway, and you can use those to create a route. You can find the destination. I mean, find the elevation that you're going to go on the route, so you can let people know that it's going to be, you know, 1,000 feet, 2,000 feet, and then determine how, you know, how fast you're going to walk. And there's an estimate. I mean, generally you take 30 minutes per mile and then add 60 minutes for a buffer because you stop and rest or explore flowers or whatever. And it's good to understand the route, know where the trailhead is when you go, before you go, and then whether it's state land, private land, and then and pre-hike it if you can. Or like myself, a lot of the trails I've been on so often, I really don't need to do that. And there are sometimes, you know, there's a new tree in the way, but we can go around and then notify the trail maintainers that there's a tree on the trail, and they'll come and get it when they can. And then one of the things about GPS is they run on batteries, and they do run out. And so you could have a backup battery, or I have a a protector on my phone that has a backup battery in it, so that if I start to get low, I can switch that battery on and I'll have enough it'll recharge my whole phone again. And there you can, and if you don't have a signal and you want to conserve your battery, you put it on airplane mode, and it won't be searching for a cell signal, because you're just using the satellites when you're using the GPS. Okay, Christy. Now here's a FLT map that you can get off on the FLT website. And this particular one I chose because I created a route up. I guess you can't see my mouse. Up on Star Stanton Road, up near, yeah, right there. And I created a route that went down around Hammond Hill, and there's some multiple use trails that are not the FLT or the North Country Trail, which you can see. The dark line is the FLT trail and the North Country Trail combined in that particular area. But the Star Stanton Hill Road, I wanted to show that you could take another route, or find another trail, or download a route onto a map, and then hike that if you want. And okay, now the back of the map is important
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. The back of the map is important because it has details of the map on the front. Like it'll tell you all the regulations there at the bottom. This is cut in half so that we could read it. If I put the whole thing on there, you wouldn't be able to read any of it. It talks about whether it's private property, or if there's maybe a high water workaround, or there's a logging area. Maybe the logging area might be where there's more information included. There's in the fingerlakestrail.org, there's right in the center of this, there's a link to where you can get the latest trail conditions. And then if you find a correction or a comment about the trail and you think it's wrong, you could email them about the problem and talk to them.
Steve, if you could go back a page and show on the map the indicator for parking.
Oh, yeah.
I believe
Okay, yeah.
up Star Stanton Road, I believe there's parking up there.
Yeah, right there. There's two parking areas, one right there, and there's the key is, it has the parking areas, and whether there's the campgrounds and the bivouac, because there's a lot of, on the Finger Lakes Trail, there's a lot of lean-tos where you can camp if you're hiking this Finger Lakes Trail. And of course, there's all the other things in the key, the highways and the interstates and the power lines and the pipelines, and also the scale of miles. So you can see from this, you could get an idea of how far you might walk if you didn't want to measure it with the GPS tool, which is what I did on a couple slides down. Maybe the next, I'm not sure. Okay, but just so you know about the key.
Thanks.
Okay, yeah, the topo map, down one. There. Now this is a USG topo map. You can download this map for the same area, but it doesn't have it doesn't have too much of the Finger Lakes Trail or the details that the FLT maps do, and that's where they're really nice. This map, it has the contour lines, which are, they tell you the elevation, and they're continuous. So that one line is a continuous elevation, and you can see the elevation like 1,500 and 1,700 feet. And so I think maybe they're 50 feet in between each line. And if the lines are real close together, you know that it's a steep area, whether it's uphill or downhill. And so that's just, this is this is how we used to go. This is how we used to hike before we had GPSs. And so I don't want this to be a orienteering seminar, but that's just an idea of what it is. And so the contour lines are very important. Plus, if you're hiking a long ways, like in the Adirondacks or something, there's what they call the magnetic declination, which is the difference between magnetic north and true north. And it varies depending on where you are in the longitude you are. Anyway, so let's go to the next one. Those old topo maps are a lot harder to use, but so this particular route here where I went off Star Stanton Road, the blue line, I took the Gaia GPS and created a route. And that route, when I saved it, created a GPX file that I downloaded and on this map. So when I go out, and this map will sync up with my phone. So when I go out, I can start and I can start tracking, and it'll show me where I am on this route that I have created. And if I go off the route, I can say, well, I better get back on it. And then I could find my way back to the route so that I won't get lost, as long as my batteries don't run out. But I mean, I think that only happened once once or twice when I first started leading hikes. So I learned to carry another battery. Another thing, yeah, on this map here, on this Gaia GPS map, and I think that it does the same thing for for Avenza and Strava. And there's some red marks on there. Those are waypoints that are taken from, it's the center or top right kind of, there's a bunch of them where there's a parking one, and maybe one of them is a trail register. Those things are taken from the GPX file that I downloaded from the FLT maps that I purchased. So put those on this Gaia map here. So if you have any questions, you can ask me later. We go on to the next one. So when I do a hike, I start out with a hike announcement, and I tell them, where we're going to go, the distance, and what the climb or the total ascent is going to be, and where we're going to meet, and the time. And then I also send some GPS coordinates that I usually get from Google Maps or something, and I tell them when we're gonna meet there. And usually some people give them a little more time, but I like to say, if I'm gonna meet and then drive like caravan to the trailhead, I'll say we're gonna meet at 9 o'clock, we're gonna leave at 9:05. So that doesn't give much time so people are usually early when I do that. And so in the announcement, I also tell them things to bring, like the hiking sticks, poles, and snacks, and always bring water. And thank you. And then if it's a dress for the weather, they bring a hat if it's going to be a hike in the sun, or naturally, if it's cold, you wear your gloves and wear your snowshoes. And I look at the weather forecast about a week ahead of time and say, well, this looks like it's going to be the better day, and I'll wait a couple days, and then I'll put the hike announcement out. I try to do it like Tuesday or Wednesday before the hike, but this week, because I've been busy, I haven't done it for this week. And then in that hike announcement, we have a distribution list of people in our hiking club that we send it out to, and everybody gets this. Plus, I'll also put it on, after I create that, I'll put it on Facebook on the Bullthistles Hiking Club Facebook page. I'll put the same thing on there and let them know. And then tell them how they could get a hold of me if they have a question, or if they're going to meet me at the trailhead or the whatever. Okay, I think this is, I'm going to turn it over to Tori right now.
Before we turn it over to Tori, I just want to mention that a lot of the things in here in terms of announcing the hike, if you're doing a hike for the FLTC, I take care of most of that. And it's a similar process to registering for this workshop. We have, you know, a Facebook event, there's an Eventbrite link for registration. We promote it in various places, and then people register online, and I handle all the communications heading up to the hike. I just ask the hike leaders to send me something, like if they have pre-hiked it, if there's anything people need to be aware of. And we'll talk a little bit more about some FLT specifics later, but for hike leaders with the FLTC, I take care of most of the communications leading up to the hike. Okay, now Tori, we'll hand it over to you. I'm gonna scroll
Thanks, actually, can you stay on this? Go back one. Hi everyone. Thanks for joining. So there is a link here with gear. So that is actually a link to the 10 essentials. So everyone should bring that on every hike. Once we get into a little some of the preparation that the hike leader actually does, I do mention there is reference to 10 essentials. Everyone should be bringing the 10 essentials: water, food, you know, appropriate for weather, you know, just for the weather. I mean, all of that good stuff we do cover here. But if Christy, if you can make sure that that link gets sent out as well. And then there also is a Hike Smart New York link at the bottom. So those are also just really good. I mean, there's a million YouTube videos, web pages about what to bring on a hike. But that seemed to be the simplest.
No,
Okay.
no.
Now you can move. Okay, so there we are. 10 essentials. So as a hike leader, I make sure I tell everyone, you know, pack your 10 essentials. This is what you should bring. And then what the hike leader should bring is also information on whatever club, FLTC, whatever, you know, if there is anything. And it depends on who your audience is. If it's just a group of friends, you don't need to bring it. If it's an FLTC hike or a hiking club, then you know, it's always good to have that. If it is a hiking 101, passport books to hand out, that would be helpful if it is a passport hike. Waivers, if applicable. I know some hiking clubs do have that. I know that Christie's got that for the FLTC. If it's, again, just a group of friends, because I'm going hiking on Sunday, the Interlochen Trail again, we don't have waivers. It's just a group of friends. So it depends on the situation. You should have the emergency number for the DEC, so that is listed there. Make sure that's programmed into your phone. First aid kit. So part of the 10 essentials is having a first aid kit. As a hike leader, I make sure that I have a little bit more, and I always have my hiking poles with me, because you can use them for all sorts of wonderful things, including splints and everything. Even if you don't think you're going to need the hiking poles, they're always there, because even if I may not need them, someone else might. And also just make sure you've got everything all set. I do it the night before, just so that way, and I pack my food and everything else, get my clothes all set, so that way in the morning all I got to do is, you know, get everything all set and go. I'm not running around trying to find, you know, an Nalgene bottle. Trail conditions. So I generally do this either the day before, or maybe a couple days before, because things do change. So the maps are fantastic, but trail conditions is the absolute latest and greatest information, just to see what's going on. This is especially important during hunting season. And then check the weather. So for an example, I have a hike planned for this coming Sunday, and I struggled to find a spot that I wanted to hike because it's going to be warm this entire week, and then it's going to get really cold on Sunday. So I was trying to find something where there weren't a lot of hills, that was, if there were roadwalks, we weren't switching back and forth between snowshoes and no snowshoes. And so it's just, this time of year is a little bit tough. Also, you know, Steve had talked about hike length. I usually try to scale it back a little bit in the winter, just because snowshoeing is a little bit more. So, you know, think about this. I have actually canceled hikes the morning of, because it was, I think, 32, 33 degrees and rainy. So it's going to be freezing rain and ice. So not good driving conditions to even get there. It would be miserable hiking in that, and also high winds. So I did Google it, and it is advisable to stay out of the woods if it's over 40 miles an hour. So I don't mind, you know, a little bit of rain, a little bit of snow, but if it's windy, if there's a high wind advisory, I stay out of the woods. So you can do a road walk, that's an option. But it's really up to your judgment. So Steve said he likes to check it, you know, a week out. And so you just, you know, use your best judgment. So that's what I do the night before. And then go ahead to the next slide, Christy. Thank you. Okay, so I always get to the trailhead super early. Again, talked about waivers, that's applicable to each group, each audience. So this is where you sort of go through, hey, this is the hike that we're doing. Either we're going to end here, or we're headed north, we're headed south, we're gonna, you know, do this loop, or these are the blaze colors we're looking for, you know. So, you know, some of this will be in the hike announcement as well. It's going to be a really hilly hike, or it's going to be, you know, flat and fast. Sorry. So just a quick overview, and it depends on, you know, who your audience is. So for bigger groups, having a sweep is really important. Also, if you have someone that is not as experienced of a hiker, you want to make sure you have an experienced hiker at the end. So that way, if they need to stop, adjust their gear, adjust their layers, tie their shoes, anything else, that they're always at the back. This is especially important with people that you may not know. And then the sweep knows that they're going to have to whistle or yell or something or at a break saying, hey, can you guys really slow it down a little bit? We're really struggling to keep up. We'll talk about pace in the next slide. And also, if you need a bush break or a toiletry or whatever we decide to call, you know, when nature calls, they're going to make sure that everything is okay. So they're gonna either wait for you and said, okay, I'm gonna go up a little bit, and I'll wait for you to catch up to me. That's typically what we do. So yeah, Steve had mentioned that you got your meeting time, you're gonna leave 5 minutes later. So yeah, we're not gonna, you know, wait around for people. I know we tend to do that on webinars, but we're more out ready to go hiking than we're, you know, if you're not there by 5 minutes after the time, then, or if you get a text that someone is running late, you know, that's fine. So this is where we start to get into some of the gray area. So if you have an 8-mile hike scheduled and someone shows up in flip-flops, and you're like, oh, did you drive in flip-flops and you're gonna go, you got your boots in the car? No, I'm gonna hike in flip-flops. Then it's up to you to use your judgment and whether or not you want to, you know, say, you know what, this is really going to be a long, treacherous hike. Flip-flops may not be the best. You're not going to be that comfortable. So you use your judgment is really what it is. And the same thing, I'm not going to get too far into the dogs. I'm not going to go down to that rabbit hole, but I know some hikes are dog-free. Other ones I frequently hike with dogs. They're not my own. Look at the policy for your hiking club, whether or not they should be there. If there's a dog that's really aggressive, then maybe you think it may not be the best situation for all parties involved. But
Right.
you know, dog owners, please make sure your dogs are well behaved. Peg, do you have a note on that?
Right, and we will be having a separate FLT Connects about hiking with dogs. There's a lot of issues. There's sections of the trail that prohibit dogs. The DEC has sections of their land that prohibit dogs. There are leash laws in some sections there aren't. So it is a very complicated issue. But the main thing is you need to keep your hikers safe. And if you have a dog that is obviously aggressive, you need to speak up and just say, this may not be the hike for you. And you do it as diplomatically as possible. But, you know, you recommend that maybe another hike. We actually had a hiker say, well, I'm still going to hike with you, but I'm going to leave my dog in the car. And it's like, really, you're going to leave your dog in the car? Is that? And we had a discussion, and it was up to that individual to leave their dog in a car. Now, mind you, I would never do that, but that's not my call. They left their dog in a car and they hiked with us. But again, not our call, but our call was you can't take the dog because of safety reasons. So it is complicated, and we will be talking about this in depth in the future.
Thank you, Peg. The other thing is, as a hike leader, you should make sure that you do carry your first aid kit. Although we say that the first aid kit is one of the 10 essentials, I can guarantee you not everyone carries one. So you as the hike leader should make sure that that you got something, that you're aware of who's got it, and you should also if it's a bigger hike, you should ideally have more than one. But usually it's the sweep, because if someone's going to be injured, they're going to be at the back. But this is also why it's a good idea just to sort of stay generally, close to each other, but not up on everyone's heels. And then also just as a reminder, basic leave no trace, basically leave only footprints, take only photographs. We don't want people, picking any sort of flowers or anything else, or not leaving trash on the trail. The trailheads are notorious for being a little messy, so there's many times that I will pick up trash at the trailhead and I will just put it in the back of my car. Beer cans, trash, candy wrappers, all sorts of craziness. So oh, look, Peg is saying that there's a leave no trace FLT connects. Perfect. Thank you, Peg. But yeah, just basically just be a good steward of the environment. So next slide, please. Okay, so now we've gotten everyone and we're ready to go. If you have a GPS, start it if you so desire. It's also good just to check your watch and like what time do we start, just because that way you know about how long it's going to take you. And then if you pre-hiked it, or if you're really familiar with it, select a few spots. I know that when I hike with a few people, when they get to a road, they always stop just to make sure they've got everyone, or if you've got a really nice view. It's helpful if you know the trail, because there have been times that I've stopped for a lunch break and literally a quarter mile up the trail was a beautiful vista and I didn't know about it. So, if you know that ahead of time, then it makes for a much more enjoyable hike for everyone. So now we're going to talk about pace. Everyone hikes at a different pace. There have been many times I've been in the very back. There's been many times I've been in the very front. So ideally, you should only be as fast as your slowest hiker, but as you get to be bigger and bigger groups, you're going to have different paces, and there's going to be a wider variety of paces. In the winter, it's ideal to have people that are walking at the same pace, because if you have the faster hikers, they're going to stop and then they're going to cool down and then they're going to get cold and then they're going to put layers on, then they're going to have to, it's just the constant back and forth of layers. So just adjust. I'm not saying put the absolute slowest person in the front, but I'm just be conscious of everyone, because everyone wants to have a good time. For me personally, I know that we all say hike leader. For me, I don't necessarily say that I have to be the one in front. And this comes from my Girl Scout days. I will put kids in the front because that way they can look out for the trail signs and they just like leading. But if there's someone that's new, I've actually put adults that are new to hiking in the front, but I'll be close behind them to make sure that they don't, miss a turn, because that way they can develop those hiking skills. Because otherwise, if you're just following the person in front of you and the person in the front knows the trail so well, then the other people aren't necessarily learning how to read the trail. And then if you do have really fast hikers, say, hey, you know what, wait for us at the road. Or there's a register or there's a lean-to, wait for us there. And then what I like to do, although I'd like to keep everyone together, we know sometimes it doesn't always happen. If I'm in the slower group, when we meet up with the fast hikers, I'll say, okay, you guys go, we'll take a little bit of a break here, and then we'll meet up with you at that next spot. Because as a slower hiker, nothing is worse than getting to where the meeting spot is, where we're all taking a break, and then everyone takes off. And I'm like, yeah, but I didn't get a break either. So again, you just sort of see what works for everyone. And then also we have a picture here of a very nice trail register. Make sure that you sign them, please. It's really important for many reasons. One of them is so that way we know how the trail is being used, how many people are there, and also for safety reasons. So especially when I'm solo hiking, basically saying, this is how far I'm going, and this is the time in, time out. I know there's a different safety concern as a solo female hiker that I'm now broadcasting where I'm going and everything else. So it's a judgment call. So, and the number of people is helpful as well. So, all right, next slide. Okay, so after the hike, we got, all our hikes in, we've taken photos and everything. Stop your GPS if you do have that. I've had to edit my GPS files. If you want, I'm sure people, if they didn't like something, I would hope that they would tell us. If there's something they didn't like, you know what, guess what? In June, there's going to be bugs. In April, there's going to be mud. In June and July and August, it's going to be hot. In January, it's going to be cold. That's a fact of life. There's not a whole lot we can do about that, but there are some things that we do have control over: pace, time, distance, any of that. In terms of logistics of transportation, carpooling, caravanning, everything else. One thing that I have learned is that when you're all back at where you're going to be and everyone's back to their cars, please make sure everyone starts their car. Just so that way that they know that there's not a dead battery. I've had people lose keys on hikes. They actually locked them in the trunk because we had to wait for AAA. So those types of considerations, you really don't want to leave someone stranded at a trailhead. It's also good at the end to, say, hey, this is what we did. Here's a few photos. Again, I think it's a fine line of, taking photos to make sure you've documented it versus stopping every 10 feet to take a photo. Some people are photographers. I will tell you that there's been so many hikes this winter, I have just plumb forgotten to take photos, but my hiking buddies do. So that's good. If you do need to submit a trail report, please do that. And the more information that you can provide, the better. I'm like, yeah, I was in Hammond Hill State Forest and there was a tree down. Okay, that's not really going to help them. But if you can use your GPS and drop a waypoint, or if you can say that I was between trail 2 and trail 5 or whatever else it is, pictures are really helpful. The more detailed, the better, because it just makes the trail better for everyone. And then even, on the hike or just afterwards, like, hey, you know what, Christy is going to plan next week's hike, look for an email from her. Or for those of you in hiking clubs, I'm sure you have a standard for that. So that's it for this slide. Next slide. Okay, so there are a lot of hiking clubs. Oh, wait, go back one. There we go. This list may not be 100% complete. These are the ones that we know about. They sort of go from west to east. Some of them hike more often than others. There's links. Some of them are web pages. Some of them are Facebook groups. Some of them you have to ask to join the group. They may not all be on the FLT. I know the Women's Hiking Group in Naples that I'm a member of. They do a little bit of FLT, a little bit not FLT. Those are definitely good resources if you do not want to hike alone and you want to hike with others. It's just, good to reach out to people and meet new people. So there's some information there. I'm not going to get into any details on that though. Next up. Okay, so as Christy said at the beginning of the presentation, this is an FLT Connect, so there are going to be some specifics for the FLT. Everything else up until this point, for the most part, was just general hiking, leading, planning, everything else. But for FLTC hikes, work with Christy on what the program is going to be. So let's say Christy says, hey, Tori, I want you to explore the FLT hike in April. So pick the hike. This is sort of what we want to do. We want to do it in like these counties, like we want it to be in Allegheny County or something. And this is the date that I want. Go plan the hike and let me know what you want to do. I would work with her, and then she would take care of the advertisements, the registration. We're looking hopefully to do online waivers. Make sure that I have a sweep because she's going to have the list of all the hike leaders, or maybe she'll reach out to me saying, hey, Tori, I need a sweep for a hike that someone is leading. Can you do it? So she'll worry about all of that. But I think you as the hike leader, I think it would be good just to, I don't know who's actually going to pick the hike, but work with Christy on that. if you have people that are unfamiliar with the FLTC at the beginning, just do what Christy did. Hey, it's 1,000-mile system. We go all the way from, the Pennsylvania border in Allegheny to the Catskills. There's all these branch trails. There's the blazes, basics. Group photos, Christy, there's a photo waiver, right?
It's part of the waiver it is being incorporated into the online registration form.
Okay, thank you. So that means waivers will be taken care of by Christy, because some people, especially with social media, they do not want their photo posted. So it's really up to them. I'm not going to ask, but it's really up to them saying, hey, we can do a group photo. Can you just not include me? Okay, that's fine. You got to respect those wishes. And then if you hear any feedback from anyone, or if you think of something, any sort of improvements, hey, this would be better, that would be better, or anything, this parking lot was not big enough for the number of people we had. I mean, anything along those lines, definitely get those to Christy and submit a trail report if necessary. And then Christy will take care of posting photos and all of that other good stuff to social media. There's no need for you to do that.
You're free to post pictures to your own social media, but if you send them to me, then I could post them on our account and share them in the Finger Lakes. I can share them in all our places and then use them also for other publications and promotions.
Yep, exactly.
And I think the best way to deal with the photo waiver for people who may not have allowed permissions, I can download that, and when I send you your final hike list, I can let you know who those people are. But if you're taking a group photo, just say, hey, this is a photo that we're going to post on Facebook. I could take one with the whole group and one with the people who don't want their photos shared anywhere. We don't include names of people on the hike, so if it's a big picture, they might not even be noticeable, but give them the opportunity to step out for the pictures that you might be sending to me.
Thank you. Anything else? Are there any more slides? I think we're pretty much done.
We are moving on to the Q&A, but beforehand, Peg wanted to fill in a few things. So Peg, I'll turn over to you for your last points.
So if you follow the FLT news and on the website and on the FLT Friends Facebook page, you know already that we have an ambassador training program.
We're launching an ambassador training.
We're launching it.
This is a brand new
happening. It's wonderful. It's brand new.
Yes.
But one of the things with the ambassador program is telling people about the FLT. So when you're on a hike, if you're a hike leader and you have somebody that's new to hiking in general, think of yourself as an ambassador of teaching them how to read what is a trailhead. You're telling me meet at a trailhead. I don't know what a trailhead is. You're telling me follow the blazes. What is a blaze? What color? Why are they white? Why are they blue? I don't understand any of this stuff. And then you're stopping at this box, and what are you putting in a little book at the box? What is that box called? Well, it's a registry, and it's really, really important that we fill out that information and explain to them why, we do the registry box, that, the FLTC actually uses it for statistical purposes, but as a trail maintainer, like if you're maintaining, say, 3 miles of trail, and you have a trail registry on your section of trail, it is wonderful to stop at that registry box and see that people are actually hiking on your section of trail. It's like a one really great thing. So, you want to, as you're hiking, explain things to people. And why are you using hiking sticks? Should I get hiking sticks? Are they expensive? What about my foot? What kind of footwear should I use? What are micro spikes? What are crampons? What are snowshoes? I had somebody yesterday I was talking to. I said, do you have snowshoes? He lifted his foot up and showed me his boot. He goes, yeah, these are my snowshoes. I said, do you know what snowshoes are? And he really didn't understand what a snowshoe was. And I held out my hands. I said the really big things. And I had trouble explaining to somebody what a snowshoe was without having a snowshoe in my hand. So, be an educator while you're out there. That's part of being a hike leader, and it's not complicated. It's just really, the basics of leading a hike, and, should you put bug spray on, and should you have a hat on, and, all the little simple things of being a hike leader. And, Tori and Steve really covered a lot of it, and Christy's going to handle some Q&A from chat. And if you're not able to do chat, then you'll have to unmute yourself and kind of let us know.
I am going to open up the questions in just a second. Deb we've got a couple people with their hands up, so we'll start there. Deb had her free hand up first. Go. Deb Nero.
Okay, so just a couple of updates on the information in the slides. The passport hikes are 5 miles or less. Somewhere it said 1 to 3. Most of them are easy. A few of them are moderate. It's a good place to start if you're leading hikes. The passport books have very detailed explanations and map snippets that show you the trail in great detail. And there is the rubbing station, Wigman's rubbing station, somewhere along the hike. Unfortunately, for the Western and Central regions, we are out of passport books. That's on me because I'm supposed to be updating them and getting them reprinted. But anyhow, you can download, you can tell your hike participants if you're doing a passport hike. A lot of people do enjoy doing the rubbings and working towards getting the patch. By the way, the patches are lovely. You can have them download the book themselves from our website. You can do it through the store. It's free. We just don't have any paper copies to hand out right now. And I will be organizing Hiking 101 hikes for the central and eastern regions for this summer. And those will all be on passport. They'll all be passport hikes. They'll be posted in Eventbrite on FLTC webpage. So you can sign up for those. Those are intended as introductory hikes. As has been said,
We're also looking for some hike leaders for those. So.
Yes, but I spend a lot of time talking about the educational stuff that was just mentioned. Like, what are the blazes? How do they work? Different colors, all sorts of stuff out in the woods, things you're looking at. It's really cool. They're fun to do. I think that was all. Bye.
Amy Marie has her hand up.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. The first question that I had is, do all the maps include information about dogs? I take my dog every single time I take the Girl Scouts out, the Boy Scouts out. Does it say that on every single map so I know exactly where I can take her and where I can't?
If a dog is not allowed on a section of a map, it will say so on the back of the map. Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
it does.
And there
Okay,
are
cool.
very few sections that don't allow dogs.
Right.
Okay, I was wondering about that because I had never seen that. So
It's
maybe I just
actually
haven't seen those.
One of our through hikers, we did an end-to-end panel discussion last year of people at FLT Connect. They had done it. One of the women who we had on the panel had actually chosen the FLT because it was a long distance trail that she could hike with her dog for almost the entire thing. Like there's so few sections that didn't allow dogs that's why she chose to do it.
And
There might be some new additions on there. So that's why you always have to keep checking FLT trail updates, because the DEC does change things.
Okay, very good. Thank you. The other question that I had was, when you are scheduling a hike, is there a specific way that you're supposed to do that? Like, are we supposed to go online? Is there a form? Is there something, or is this something more of like a social media thing? Is it more flexible? How would you recommend we do that?
Interested in leading a hike for the FLT, first of all, we have a number of sort of scheduled hikes, and we're adding more series. So if you're interested in being a hike leader for the FLT, just reach out to me, and we can figure out if you want to do some of the hiking programs that we've already got planned. If you had ideas for other hikes that you wanted to lead on behalf of the FLTC, again, just work with me. So we can help get them published. There's not a form, but there's a process, which I'm actually working through documenting right now. We're building more of these programs so that we're sure to check all our boxes and do everything we need to do for a successful hike on our end to support it.
Okay, so when I take the Boy Scouts out or the Girl Scouts out, should I contact you every single time I'm doing that? Because it's usually a group of about 20 people.
If it's not an FLTC hike, if you're just taking the Boy Scouts out, then no, you don't need to contact us. But if it's
Okay.
something that we want to invite the public to, like if you want to do a hike where you're inviting the public and the FLT can promote it, then we need to know. If you're doing a hike for the Boy Scouts, we don't need to know. Only things that we want to invite people to.
Christy, can I add to that?
Sure.
As well? So here, let me lower my hand. So specifically for Girl Scout and Boy Scout groups, Amy Marie, you just need to make sure that you let someone that is not going on the hike know where you're going. I basically say that this is the hike, we're meeting here. I will also tell you, just from my experience, trying to do a shuttle with scout groups is very difficult because you have to have 2 deep leadership at all times. You can't leave one leader with a bunch of kids while 2 leaders go shuttle the cars. So it's very rare you're going to have 4 people. So I would do an out and back or do a loop.
Okay.
That
Thank you
would be
very
my
much.
recommendation. And then Deb, I think you had a comment on the dog topic. Okay, I'll let you go.
So there's, off the top of my head, there's 2 sections on the Bristol Hills Branch Trail that are closed to dogs, to properties. And in both of those cases, there's a road walk around them because in at least one of those cases, there's also a hunting closure at certain times of the year. So as far as I'm aware right now, all of the sections that are closed to dogs, there's a way to hike around them that's described on the maps, where the dogs, it's a road walk, but you can take the dogs with you. The DEC properties, as far as I'm aware right now, and as Peg said, this might change, there are some DEC properties where they want the dogs leashed. Some of the wildlife management areas, for instance, there's one that's over in the Bullthistle area where they allow trapping in the wintertime, and they strongly recommend that you leash your dog so that they don't get into, traps that people have set, things like that. But all that stuff is on the back of the maps. Read the maps.
And also on the back of the maps, and sort of the FLTC recommends that you leash your dogs at all times when you're hiking on the FLT. It's not a requirement because we can't, but it's just a strong recommendation. Best practices.
Thank you.
Any other hands up?
Christy,
All your,
Christy,
yeah.
Christy, let me, I don't know if I'm breaking in and out. My internet is horrible. Sorry, I apologize. If you are leading a hike that you are inviting other people to, whether you're with a hiking club or an individual that likes to lead hikes, Christy is willing to advertise them with the FLT options that she has. So for instance, I'll use Bullthistles as an example. If Steve is leading a hike for the Bullthistles, basically what he does is he sets up an email and he emails our hike club and says, this is where we're going. And he includes all this stuff that he was talking about and everything Tori was talking about in that email. And then he also tells Christy, and if there's enough time, she'll put it out on her form. Then at the day of the hike, our Bullthistle Hiking Club has a waiver form that they fill out. If it was an FLT sponsored event, the FLT would have a waiver form. But if anybody here is part of a hiking club, please understand that the FLTC is here to support your club and will help you promote any and all of your hikes with enough notice.
And a little clarification on that. If it's for your club hikes, we will put them on the FLT's calendar, which we direct people to. And, as we move into hiking season, we'll be doing more of, here's an FLT hike, but check our calendar for club hikes. So I am creating a form for this, because I would need things like the hike name, the time and the date, who's leading it, and if there's any web address for your club, whatever, just so I can copy and paste it into our calendar event, because this has to be quick and easy for me. So it will share it on our calendar, but not necessarily promote it through all of our channels.
Right, through the calendar.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. But so for the previous question about, is there a set form? A lot depends on your individual club. If you're doing a club hike, a lot of it's through social media for your club. It's not an exact form, but the information that Tori and Steve shared is what you want to promote, no matter how you're hiking, whether it's a local hike or an FLT hike. That information is so, so important to make sure people know what they're going into. Like if you put out a hike and you know there's a lot of hills and you know there's 2 feet of snow, and you don't mention that in your hike description, and somebody shows up, like Tori said, in flip-flops, you have a problem. And now you have to address a problem that you might have been able to prevent by a proper hike description of what, you could call it a moderate or extreme hike or an easy hike. Use those terms, look at what you're putting people into. Is it level? If you're going into a level easy hike, you might want to say this hike is wonderful for beginners and everybody is welcome. Think of different ways to invite people. I do dog hikes, but I also say dogs are welcome, but everybody's welcome, even if you don't have a dog. I always throw that in there too, because I want everybody to show up. So just think of how you could invite people, but prepare them for what they're going into.
Peg, just a comment about, easy, medium, difficult, that is all relative. I think
Yeah,
even
true.
Steve said that, so I think that the facts are, this is an 8-mile hike, there are hills. And I also, in terms of clothing, I have had Girl Scouts show up for hikes in 40-degree weather in a t-shirt. And I said, do you have a long sleeve shirt with you? Yes. Okay. And she'll hike in a t-shirt in 40 degrees. And I've learned over time that she's just a warm hiker. Where me, I'm always cold. So, I mean, you sort of have to gauge that. And if they're too warm or if they're too hot, they're going to learn that for the next hike, as long as it doesn't turn into a first aid issue.
Exactly.
Okay, a couple last things, because we are after 8 o'clock right
We
now.
are.
So a couple last things. First, somebody asked how to report down trees from the trail, and we have the email in chat. It's trailreport@fingerlakestrail.org. We had an addition for some hiking suggestion for how to improve this precinct. Add one other hike. We can do that. And then a question that we can throw out to anyone who wants to stay on and discuss this was, what are some good hike theme ideas? And I don't know if Grace is still here. I don't know if we need more clarification of that, but if we can talk hike themes at all. But Deb has her hand up, so let's go to you first.
And Deb just had a brain fart. Deb just had a brain fart about what she was going to say. Back your conversation up a few points there, Christy, because it was something that.
Emailing trail reports down.
Thank you. That was it. That was it. I happen to have an Android phone, and my phone will give me, if I set it correctly, it'll give me GPS coordinates for any photo I take. So it's a little trickier with an iPhone. Then I think to some extent it depends on the model you have, but with an Android, if you turn the setting on, you can take a photo of the down tree, and when you go to submit the report, you can send in the photo so they can see how big it is and where it's laying and all that sort of stuff. Is it hung up on another tree? And you can go into the information about the photo and get the GPS coordinates out for the regional trail coordinator to help them pinpoint where this is on the trail. So, yes, it's informative to say, well, it's between this trailhead and that trailhead, or it's where the trail takes a hard left turn after you pass the stream, but GPS coordinates are good too.
Yep. The other thing to add to that, Deb, is in the subject line, please put the MAC number. That's going to make it so much easier for those that are receiving those emails. So that way, if I'm a trail maintainer on, MAC 9, if I see 24, I know it's not something I need to worry about. Oh, my idea for a theme is waterfalls.
Always a good one. Always a great one.
All right. Well, I want to thank first of all our wonderful presenters tonight for putting together this overview of how to hike leader training. We've discussed already hike leader training 2, talking a little bit more about special circumstances you might encounter as a hike leader and how you can respond to them. Just things like if you have a disruptive hiker in your group, if you have, somebody who shows up and is clearly unhealthy, if you have any medical emergencies on the trail and you are, how to respond, so that you have that in your head. Those situations are rare, but it's important to talk about them before you actually encounter them. So we're talking about that. You'll be receiving a survey after this, and we'd love to hear any other suggestions for any FLT Connect topic you'd like to see addressed, and also specific thoughts on hike leader training and what you might like to know before you would want to lead a hike, or what you think is really important for hike leaders to know.
And I also want to reiterate to everybody here, if you would like to lead a hike for the FLT, whether it's a hike 101, be part of the county hike, all you have to do is raise your hand and let us know. We are looking for hike leaders. We want you to be part of it. So, you may be more knowledgeable than the next guy. So step up, be a sweep if you don't want to be a hike leader. There's plenty of opportunities, and we really, really welcome everybody to participate in our trails. Our trails are wonderful, and we need you.
Email volunteer@fingerlakestrail.org if you'd like more information about volunteering in any capacity.
For instance, I have a friend who is not comfortable with the responsibility of being a hike leader, but they are more than happy to be a sweep on any hike that I lead or any hike that I suggest. So, whatever your comfort level is, please let us know and volunteer.
Thank you. All right, thank you again, everybody, for coming. Thank you to our presenters. I always like to emphasize that our presenters are volunteering their time to share their expertise and their knowledge with us, and we really, really appreciate it. So thank you all. Again, this will be recorded. Go check out the other FLT Connects that are coming up in the next few months, and we hope to see you again.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.